Hello, everybody. We are here in Austin, Texas, and we are here at Consensus 2022 by CoinDesk, the festival for the decentralized world. And today is day two. And today I have with me Jagdeep Sidhu, who is the co founder of Syscoin Foundation. So, Jagdeep, welcome, and thank you for taking the time to talk to us today. So, can you tell us more about your journey into blockchain and digital assets?
Yeah, I mean, around 2013, was introduced to the concept of Bitcoin, and it was more around the philosophical debates of monetary policy, economic philosophy, and that's where I kind of got interested in Bitcoin,
Okay.
and then slowly started to realize that there's much more than just value transfers in Bitcoin that's possible. Obviously, the store of wealth, store of value is what Bitcoin separates Bitcoin from the rest,
Right.
but there still needs to be some sort of utility based platform or platformization that needs to happen in the industry for other things, digital identity, tokenization, DeFi. These sort of
Right.
things are critical pieces that will usher in things like smart cities, IoT, and AI. These are the missing pieces that Bitcoin won't be filling,
Right.
but the denomination of value will be mostly Bitcoin. So
Right.
the unfilled gap is kind of where the interest immediately started to for us.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's been a journey since it's been about 8 9 years of journey now.
Okay.
Um, Internally, even before that, I was searching for something like Bitcoin.
Uh huh.
Trading in the markets about 15 years prior to that.
Uh huh.
And also, just being a software engineer,
Okay.
searching for like the nuts and bolts of how the economy works and where the seeing the debt based, inflation based economy kind of the writing on the wall. I was already searching for something like Bitcoin, and then when the concept was created, it was the alignment was instant for myself. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So, Syscoin Foundation, when was it founded, and can you give us a little bit more insight on about Syscoin?
Yeah, it was founded under the need of creating a legal nonprofit entity. At the time, we had a company called Blockchain Foundry. It's a public company. We also co-founded that one, and
Okay.
it's more of an enterprise. But we did a lot of the development of Syscoin. When we enterprises came to us, they said we need to solve these problems. We take those concepts and we built the platform around that. And many of the co-founders of the protocol were part of the company, and
Okay.
so we needed a nonprofit way to manage the protocol.
Right.
It's actually one of probably the first one, but still one of the only ones where you have a public company, and then you have the protocol and the company kind of work together a little bit.
Okay.
And the foundation needed to have non-majority votes to control the protocol, and
Okay.
so majority of the board, who is co-founders, needed to be part of the foundation, but non-partial people needed to be on the board or on the foundation as well
Right.
to be able to vote on the direction of the protocol. So it was a legal requirement for us to do such a thing. And then
Okay.
over time, the foundation has grown, and now we have 40 plus people that are outside of anything to do with Blockchain Foundry, but it's a separate entity just to think about Syscoin, like the BDs and the marketing team and all that stuff are all.
Right.
It's kind of like its own uh, perpetual perpetual system that's growing on its own without the help of anything else. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And where are you? Where's your headquarters? And when was it founded?
Yeah, around 2016, 2017, we founded it out in Netherlands
Okay.
because the legislation and regulations were a little bit better for crypto
Okay.
instead of North America. Because we were all based in North America, but
Yeah.
obviously we hadn't figured out the sandboxing for crypto at that time.
Right.
So Netherlands was a logical choice, and we had some members there that started it up and created an office and a PO box and a shipping address and the tax stuff. We figured all that out, and so
Okay.
yeah, since then we've been growing and growing, and it's been it's been still based in Netherlands.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We've seen that over the past few years that blockchain technology as a whole has exponentially grown, to at a very high scale. Do you think that in the future is the future on decentralized world? What I mean is the world getting into decentralization? Is my question.
Yeah, I mean, the businesses need to understand that disintermediation is happening right in front of us. And so when we've interfaced with enterprises, like we've had the luxury of meeting with the top level execs of banks and big companies, and it's always of a bottom line to them. And the way I describe it is, we're the world is going to disrupt your company if you don't pay attention. So either you figure out how you fit into this system, you are a tool into the system rather than the system is a tool for you, or you'll be disrupted in the near future. So a lot of the companies didn't believe in that because of the regulations around it aren't clear. So they say take a stance off. But the ones that do understand are jumping in, right? They believe in the concept and understand that if they don't partake in the movement, they will be quickly disrupted. And other companies are doing things in a disintermediated way, which is crypto. We're going to replace those, including banks, right? And so, these concepts were kind of born out of Satoshi's vision of Bitcoin. But when Vitalik created Ethereum, it started even a bigger movement within the younger crowd because of the ease of development. Now we've hit a point at which that system we knew which was not scalable. The Bitcoin community, it was always about Ethereum is not really anything special because we could have done this in Bitcoin. But the fact that it was done created a vicious cycle of new engineers, new academics, new PhDs coming in who are now in a young generation saying no to the existing Web 2 platforms are now fully Web 3 immersed. So the regulation doesn't really matter because the new companies are going to be fully crypto aware. What we're finding is corporate finance as we know it is being disrupted. So I think there's large ramifications all around, and it's one of those things that I don't like to say the world is becoming decentralized, but I would say that the world is changing as we know it, and whatever forms of value you think you're using today, that will change under the new paradigm of sovereign storage, information, financials, using blockchain.
Wow. And we've seen also that there's been a huge bubble in the market for a while right now. And there's been volatility over the years, and at the same time the regulations. So I see that these are the two stumbling blocks at the moment for a common man to really believe in this whole technology or the cryptocurrency, the digital assets. So what do you think from a regulatory point of view? What do you think the regulations or the authorities should do so that people can believe? Because we know that, as we saw, that initially we had fiat money and then moved to plastic money, which is debit and credit cards, and now we know that it's moving to digital assets, but there's still fear in people. So what do you think the regulatory authority should do? Because that's also the bubble. There's no clarity from them. I just wanted to know your thoughts on that.
I mean, those are loaded questions, and there's a lot of different angles you can take with that. But I would say, with public permissionless blockchains, there's no counterparty checks, and this poses a problem for tax. And this is the biggest problem that they're having. It's not anti-terrorism or this sort of thing. It's all tax. Because if they cannot tax, they cannot create a revenue model for the existing governance for governments. And because there's no counterparty checks, things like the NFT market and this sort of thing, where you don't know who the other side of the trade is, are able to write off losses, are able to get away from paying tax. This is a big problem. And so regulators are taking a stance of trying to figure out how to tax people, creating the VASP model, being able to have the crypto wallets become VASPs. Also for us, like when we met with the SEC, it was more about, we wanted to do on-chain transaction compliance using a layer 1 protocol to show that it is possible for enterprises. Because again, like we were interfacing with enterprise so much, the questions kept coming up. Okay, can we just do counterparty checks, but keep settling on the public permissionless layer? And now where we've gotten to is being able to plug in brokers. So the question from SEC was, can you not only make it Web3 compliant, because it was just basic UTXO transfers like Bitcoin. Can you make it Web3 native? So can we do DeFi with this in a counterparty check way? But can we also plug in brokers so that you're not becoming an ATS, You're not doing transfer agent. You're not concerned with GDPR. You simply just plug in the broker who does the checks. And as McAfee said, we're in a war. So the other side of this is there is a old guard versus new guard, and the governments definitely want investor protection. They want to make sure they can tax that side, and so there is a short 3 to 5 year window where they're going to force it down everyone's throat,
Right.
especially the 40 and up who've been through the old guard. They're resistant to change.
Yeah.
They're going to be okay. Let's just use this system. I run a Fortune 50 company. I can't take the risk of this shutting down.
Right.
My stock will go down. I need to make sure that I fit within the guidelines to take advantage of this.
Right.
So my fiat bottom line will be happy. But the under 40, they're thinking about bottom line of stacking sats. And so they're saying, no. Let's think about this in a different way and plug into the ethos of Bitcoin.
Right.
And they are thinking about it different. But the 40 plus, which is running the old guard, they are trying to fit in a sandbox way and the regulatory environments. So for us, there's many solutions out there. Like Fireblocks made some. I think Credo was with MetaMask Institutional that's creating an MPC protocol where you can do counterparty checks right baked into the MPC. All these solutions are custody based. So they offer no real solution, I would say, to the market because it's custody based. Even as an enterprise, there's tons of risk in that environment, even with insurance. What we're saying is we can do this right on layer one as a, for example, like Ethereum has something called rollups, right? Like it's optimistic rollups, Arbitrum, Optimism. There's ZK EVM coming out with the ZK Sync. These rollups can become compliant, right? If someone wants to run a rollup and plug a broker in the back end, it could become completely compliant. You can take actual USDT, move it over to the system, and then in that system, if you want to do transaction, you could do all the counterparty checks. But you should be able to withdraw.
Yeah.
If you don't want to use that system, you should have the option to say, okay, I'll withdraw. But at that point, it becomes a VASP because you will have the checks done at that point. You move to another address on the public chain, you'll be able to, know who that person is. This is a way for average people to be able to come in. And in those sorts of systems, you have the investor protection because, as you know, the smart contracts are not really safe right now for average people. The hackers are having a field day, especially the state-driven attacks, where we're stealing funds.
Yeah.
The proper smart contract Lego blocks haven't been built. So by the time we get the Lego blocks, the average Joe probably should be in a regulated sandbox environment. But if you want to take advantage of Web3 and DeFi, they could. They're going to be paying tax, just fine, which is what the governments want. They will be also offered investor protection, because in that system, the hackers won't be able to do anything.
Yeah.
And then in the future, post 5 to 10 years, as the war unfolds, the new guard is going to take over, obviously, and that is public permissionless. So that is trying to figure out, first we need the building blocks to be solid, the Lego blocks. Once that's solid, the story of Bitcoin is already there. There's nothing wrong with that, but the story of Ethereum or smart contracts starts to come to life. And that's when you'll see the real smart cities, IoT and AI stuff come to life. Because we will have solved the scale problem at that point.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for talking to us, Jagdish.
problem.
It's been really informative and educative to us. And I wish you all the best with Syscoin Foundation. And we hope to see more of your foundation in the coming
Thanks, Sierra. Thanks for doing this. And I'm glad we got to talk and conversate. I'm sure there will be many more opportunities in the future.
Yes. We will.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.